The Lion King, a much-anticipated live-action remake. It's hit in cinemas around the world in 2019. But the hype hasn't all been positive. It's shining a spotlight on the issue of cultural copyright because of two little words. Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata. No worries, or something like that, right?
That means no worries.
For the rest of your days.
For the rest of your days.
Do you know what?
Were we right?
Yes, correct. Do you know where that's from?
Ooh, I got this. Swahili? Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
I would say it would have to be from somewhere on the continent of Africa. Not I don't know what specific country.
Hakuna Matata, what a wonderful phrase. Hakuna Matata, ain't no passing craze. It means no worries.
Made globally famous in 1994 by Disney's blockbuster hit, the catchphrase Hakuna Matata is actually Swahili, and it's used almost daily in parts of East and Central Africa. It's also a lyric in the 1982 Swahili song Jambo Bwana by Kenyan group Them Mushrooms. Swedish pop group Boney M was among other bands that also recorded versions in the 1980s.
Jambo Bwana, you are welcome. Hakuna Matata.
And it's still performed today by hotel bands across East Africa. Recently, many Kenyans and other Swahili speakers were shocked to discover that Disney had trademarked the catchphrase back in 1994, mainly for merchandising purposes. Many are questioning Disney's right to profit from what they say is a cultural asset. Kenyan lawyer Liz Lenjo says cultural assets aren't that easy to define in a legal sense.
We have to investigate what do we mean by cultural assets. If you're going to talk about maybe a technique of bidding that we can say comes from, I don't know, the Taita community or the Maasai community, then that is different. But then again, the question of how can you identify this technique becomes another question.
This isn't the first time the issue of cultural asset appropriation has come up in the business world. Back in 2014, South Africa successfully stopped an attempt by France to trademark the name rooibos, which is the name of a red bush tea grown only in South Africa. But just because Disney has trademarked the phrase Hakuna Matata, does that mean it's totally out of bounds around the world?
So a Kenyan firm can use it. The question is where. Like I said, intellectual property is generally territorial. So you then look at, is it registered in my country? If it's not registered in my country, it's fair game. If the transaction has happened here and it's not happening in the US territory, then there's no infringement.
The issue of cultural copyright is still murky legal territory. But for Swahili speakers and other fans of the phrase Hakuna Matata outside US copyright zones, no worries. Or should we say,
Hakuna Matata.
Maria Galang, CGTN, Washington.